Welcome to the Business Owner Elevation Podcast, the show that's designed for coaches, consultants, and expert business owners that are looking to achieve higher levels of productivity and profitability, where we share battle-tested tactics and innovative ideas that guarantee to elevate your business rapidly. Brought to you from the award-winning Best UK Business Podcast in 2015. Without further ado, here's your hosts, Robert Dean Smith and Leon Street.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Business Owner Elevation with me, Mr. Robert Dean Smith, aka the Marketing Manifesto Guy, alongside the irrepressible Mr.
Leon Street in the house. And you know what, guys? We had to do this one a second time because Rob had done such a great intro and I jumped in and cut him. And so here we are, second time around, but you think it's the first.
All right.
What have we got in store today? What have we got in store?
No guests. Only guests are us two, which are really the resident hosts. So there's no guests. We're like the resident DJ of a nightclub, but obviously we're the resident hosts of the podcast. Good. So today, guys, we're going to talk about something that has cropped up a few times. We have kind of spoken to it in a circle, spoken to this subject matter, but we thought we would kind of elaborate a little bit more because we see that there are so many coaches in our industry or in the expert marketing space generally who are kind of tactical based as opposed to strategy based. So we want to talk about the whole subject of having a marketing strategy for coaches and why you really need to have one. So that's what we're going to elaborate in today's show. So I'm going to let Leon kind of, do his thing and kick us off. Or I don't know if he wants me to kick you off. I don't know what we got in store, but we've got a few questions.
I don't know, whatever goes, guys. You're going to get value out of this because we prepared some real juicy nuggets. And what is the title of the show, Rob?
I think I just said it tonight. Is it what is a marketing strategy and why you should have one, or why coaches should have a marketing strategy? But I think you wrote it down.
I did. So here it is, guys. What is a marketing strategy and why coaches should use one? And I think it's something that many people get mixed up with. And, a marketing strategy, ultimately, I mean, I'm going to give you the straight Wikipedia response, and then what me and Rob are going to do is kind of break this down so you kind of know what the juicy pieces are of a marketing strategy. So as it says on Wikipedia, it's a plan of action designed to promote and sell a product or a service. And so in essence, a marketing strategy may also be named a marketing plan. And we like to call it a marketing strategy because we like to think more strategically about our approach to sell and promote products and services, and in particular, how we help coaches do that. And I think it's one of these things where some people, and you've probably come across this, Rob, where they're like, I haven't really got any marketing plan. I know what my customers want, and that's what I put out to them, and then I see what works. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, that is the kind of Dead Poet Society approach to marketing, having a marketing strategy. Yeah, I think that is generally the consensus until there's a different level of awareness. And I suppose really for coaches in particular, it depends how difficult, or should I say saturated, challenging your marketplace is. Because if you're kind of like niched out and people are not, you kind of have things under control, then your marketing strategy doesn't have to be that great. But in my humble but accurate opinion, which is normally always right, you do need to have a strategy, because I don't know of many coaching niches that haven't got strong competition, because wherever there's opportunity and you have the opportunity to earn good money, normally competition follows. So, the person or entity that can articulate their message better using a marketing strategy, which will have some tactics based in there, is going to ultimately be the winner. So let me just elaborate on that. I mean, as Leon said, he kind of articulated what Wikipedia said about having a marketing strategy. And within that marketing strategy, you're going to have different types of campaigns, which we run all the time. We run offline campaigns, online campaigns. But if you look at it like strategically, like a general in an army, because let's use weapons of warfare here.
Hold on, Rob. This is the big piece here. War of art. Let's go.
War of art. So you see, tactically, any army that's going into battle is going to have, they're going to have army, they're going to have the navy, they're going to have the air force, you're going to have land, sea, and air. You're going to be attacking from all angles. You're not just going to be attacking in one campaign. You're going to have all these different strategies and tactics built into the larger strategy so that you can win. And then even within that, you're going to have your special forces like SEALs and commandos. So, you've got to think about what you're doing because, a SEAL, a Navy trained SEAL can they're just dangerous. They can take out the average kind of, let's say, average soldier because they're just trained at a higher level. And this is what you got to be thinking about as you go in. When I speak to clients in particular, especially on the private client side, I think of it as war, because if somebody's hiring BOE, you obviously want to get a result. So I go into, my mindset is slightly different to most. I don't like, people say it's competition, this, that, never. But I see it as a war. It's a simple, straightforward, you got to have a strategy of how you're going to win. And you're going to have land, sea, and air. So that's my, my overall kind of general thinking towards the marketing strategy. And I know I've used kind of warfare but I'm feeling in that kind of combative mode this morning after watching so many movies over the weekend that deal with the art of war.
Well, for any of you coaches out there, especially the mindset coaches and maybe spiritual coaches, we don't always have to go in for the war angle. And before we go even any further, I've just got this picture of a seal at a water park, Rob, like with a ball on its nose.
Well, that's the humorous side of it. That is the humorous side.
But anyway, guys, you probably get what Rob's talking about. It's, as he says, you've got to come at it from different angles. And I think it is that kind of, I'm going to use a slightly different angle, which will work with what Rob's saying, which is a dominance angle. And we're going to get into this. It's kind of like you don't go into any market that is producing results to just join the bunch, to join the rest of them. You go in to dominate. And, whether you're going in with the kind of psyche of warfare and you're going to attack from all different angles, or you're going in with the mentality of dominance and you're literally just going to penetrate at all the right levels to hit your niche, then that's the way I'd look at it as well, just so we got a flip side to this. And that's the reality of any marketing strategy. Your marketing strategy ultimately should it should lean towards your preferred approach, but it has to consider some key critical steps, which is what we're going to get onto, and where Rob's coming from with the different angles, approaches, and it's kind of land, sea, and air. And to put this into some context, I suppose, for a coach, you're probably looking at the kind of terrain. It's like, where do I penetrate in order to get my products or services in front of customers? And the land, sea, and air is basically, where do your customers hang out? Yeah, and it's identifying those places in order to get the message out there. I think that's about right, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah. I would have you succinctly put it that way. I would be more forceful about it, but yes.
Hold on the 10-second countdown and releasing the nukes, President.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's a very good way of putting it, Leon. In essence, so I mean, Leon's hit on a very important point, and I think it's something that our good friend, I say good friend, one of the leading godfathers, and Leon has had the opportunity to meet this gentleman, J. Abraham, and he talks about this strategy of preeminence, and I think that's really like for anybody that's going to dominate, as Leon has just said, you're going to have a strategy of preeminence within your marketing strategy, so that you will slice amongst any noise in the niche or the marketplace that you're going to serve. And I think that's really, really important, because most people get into this tactical base. I'm going to do this, and I do it tactically, and they've not even really looked at what the market, which we'll probably touch on a bit later, or we'll do another podcast about this whole market research thing, what the market really wants. So therefore you get kind of confused, spinning your wheels, giving half-baked solutions. So and some of those solutions are fine, but what it means is that you're only going to get half the result that you really, really want, that you think is going to be, the result that's going to take you from one level to the next level, to make you jump levels in your stature, in your income, in your market share. But because, as I said, you may not have done this strategy of preeminence, which is all going to be based on the research you do, and we ain't going to touch on research today, because we know that we're going to do another follow-up podcast all about, how to research a market before entering it. Me and Leon will do that for you. Yeah. But this is where that starts. It's all going to start back to the research and you've heard me and Leon speak about it many, many times, the 3Ms, market, message, media. But the market is so vitally important. And when you structured that, you've got to have this strategy of preeminence.
Absolutely.
If you want to look that up.
Let's get into preeminence a bit more then, Rob. Let's just go in for like a 1 minute kind of deep dive, just so people understand what you mean by preeminence.
Okay. Oh, you want me to explain? Or you were going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just quickly.
Okay, cool. So in summary, if you're going to create a strategic business plan, part of that strategic business plan, part of the strategic marketing plan should be to have this foundation of preeminence. Basically, what it allows you to do, as I say, is separate yourself from your competitors. So some people would say it's like having a great USP, but it's more to do with the positioning. And one of the key things that we do inside of our coaching programs or anything that we're doing with clients is to make them synonymous. You have to really think a lot. And to be synonymous, you have to have a preeminent strategy so that you are on the tip of your market's tongue. If you're a mindset coach, or however you want to describe yourself, we just take mindset coach for a second. You have to be very clear in the way that you articulate what mindset coaching or transformational coaching means, so that you are on the tip of everybody's tongue in the market you serve. So you can be a mindset coach, but you might only be a mindset coach to, sporting professionals. So that's slightly different from saying I'm a mindset transformational coach. I mean, quite a few of the mindset transformational coaches I see, who I see in the marketplace now, a lot of them that I'm aware of myself personally have some kind of niche with women. Maybe because I'm looking at women coaches, I don't know why, but I'm saying I see a lot of women coaches say I'm a transformational mindset coach, but they're only doing it for women, which is cool. But there's quite a lot of you doing it in that market right now. So it's how do you articulate aspects of the service that you're going to deliver that really cuts through the noise that everybody else is saying. Cool. And as I said, this is one of the things that we do in making sure that you are synonymous.
Absolutely. And I'm going to jump in there, because where Rob's taking you guys is, this is really getting clear, you understanding in being clear about what market you're in. And I'm sure we're going to touch on this in a moment, and making sure that you understand what's the overall market, you understand what the sub-market, and then, as Rob has just said, you're going into niche. I've actually got a little story, a little explanation of that, because I released a blog recently, and I put it out, as you do, across all the social media platforms. And this was off the back of a client inquiry, somebody who got lost in the tactics and had forgot about the strategy. And I'll break down the example first of all. So as Rob's talking about, you don't want to be, and I'm using this here, as Rob would say, you don't want to be in shark-infested waters.
Not unless you're a Navy SEAL. Not unless you're a Navy SEAL.
I wish I could do the sound effect for a SEAL, but anyway. I don't want to start Rob off, guys, because I know he'll start thinking he's right. Let me think of that sound. He'll probably do it.
Yeah, we'll start.
I'm not sure if it sounded like a seal or if you had some really bad case of hiccups.
We've got to add that sound effect in.
Anyway, but here's an example. So let's say I attend a networking event for business owners. I get to meet a few people. I introduce myself and I say, hey, I'm Leon Street. I have a marketing agency and I help business owners with online marketing. Nothing too out of the norm. Sounds very basic. And here's the other thing. Imagine all those business people who I meet in that room and how many other marketers and web designers they come across at that same event. And what you're probably getting from this is you've probably been to these kind of networking events, and you come across plain, you come across vanilla, everybody has heard it before. So what you've got to do, where Rob was taking you, is clearly understand what your market is. So let's break this down. So as one of the key or the top 3 markets you can go into, there's wealth, health, and relationships. Now, for what we do with Business Owner Elevation, quite clearly we're in the wealth market, but the sub-market of that would be online business. Then the niche, as an example niche would be online marketing for established coaches who want or have online programs. Yeah. So let's switch up my introduction now with bearing that in mind. So here it is, guys. Hi, I'm Leon Street. I help established coaches who are looking to position themselves as authorities in their niche, and most importantly, achieve this through online marketing, where they create a 6-figure plus business from consistent lead generation and high value programs that gives them leverage and reward in their life and business. So hopefully you can see the difference, or even hear the difference, guys, in the fact that what I'm saying to people is I'm clear on who I'm helping, established coaches, how I help them through lead generation and high value sales. And then I also shout out my specific niche characteristics established with a 6-figure plus goal. Yeah. And finally, I point out the market, which is online business. So this is the thing that Rob's alluding to, guys. You've got to be absolutely clear when it comes to your marketing strategy that you understand the market you're in. And then more importantly, you carve out and know the niche that you're going to go into, because you don't want to go into a place where you look like everybody else, sound like everybody else, and therefore everybody labels you as everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Specificities, what I liked about that, if you notice that BOE Elevation Nation is, from the 2 examples Leon's just given you there, is obviously example 1 was more vanilla, and, probably 90% of what most coaches or sort of say marketing consultants who go to network events will say something like that. They're always described, I always call it, they've got titleitis, not tonsillitis, titleitis. They tell you the title, but they don't tell you what they do. And that's was example 1 of what Leon delivered there. And then obviously example 2 was more specificity, because as I said, he called out the market, he told you specifically what he wanted to do. And that is really crucial. But obviously specificity only comes which is what we've been alluding to. And we are going to do a whole podcast on that. I don't know if it's going to come back to back after this one, but we're going to do a whole episode on market research, entering into new markets, infiltrating new markets or campaigns, and how to look about the research. Because I think that is the precursor to some of the things we're outlining here in terms of creating that marketing strategy and creating that plan. I mean, one of the things I want to kind of say as well, what you'll find in campaigns, which are kind of like plans within plans, is that you're going to have several over the course of a 12-month period. So the key thing is that we're in, at the time of this recording, or whenever you may listen to this in the future, obviously we're in Q4 of 2017. So, you should already know what's going to happen months before. You shouldn't really be coming to the month of September, October, and just like figuring out what your campaign is. Because if you are, it means you never really had an overall strategy for 2017. You're kind of whistling Dixie. And it's important to be like 3 months at least ahead. So, like at the beginning of the year, what are we going to do in January to March? That should have probably been sorted out last October 2016. And then going forward into the spring, into the summer, and now we're into this Q4, autumn, winter time. So one of the things about a strategy, depending on what you're doing, but as I said, we're talking to many coaches, but we do deliver our private client work to companies that are outside of the coaching realm, is that you may have seasonal, tactical promotions, like car dealers have, 50% off summer sale. The Mercedes C-Class event weekend thing. You've got all these kind of like tactical things to boost or inject sales throughout the course of the year. So in particular, most of us have just finished the long 6 week school summer holiday, and it can be quite quiet. But if you plan before, you can probably make August a rocking month, depending on the market you serve.
Yeah, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying to Rob, because there's a lot of misconceptions about, going through July and August. And what I was saying to Rob is that, based on my experiences, especially with another marketing agency that I ran, is that as long as you do the marketing like 3 months before, you set yourself up for some really massive results. And I've actually had two years in particular where August was my best month in sales, and it came down to me recognizing mostly that I wanted to make sure that during that month, like July, August, that time, that I was ready to actually smash sales. And that came off the back of campaigns, as Rob was pointing out, where you're a quarter ahead, you're planning this stuff at least 3 months in advance, so that by the time you get to the point where you want to get results, the marketing will have already been out to your audience, to the prospective target audience. And as a result of that, as I said, I had 2 amazing Augusts. And I love it when people say, August is a pretty crap month or pretty poor. And straight away, I know why it is. And it's because the marketing hadn't been done leading up to that month. And it's like Rob says, you don't want to be stuck in the month or coming up to the month and decide that's the point where you want to run campaigns and expect huge results, whether it's within that month or in the coming weeks of that month. So yeah, I think it's a really good point. And yeah, we always recommend, whether it's, with our specific coaching clients or the private one-to-one clients, is that do plan, for success. Plan in 4 quarters, split your year into Q1, 2, 3, and 4, 90 days, break your 90 days down into 3 months, attack it from what you're going to do month by month, and then week by week for each month. And the whole point of that is it kind of comes back to like Tony Robbins' approach. Whenever you've got a goal, chunk it down, break it down into manageable chunks that you can tick off. It's always good to see your progress visually, whether you're somebody who needs to see it visually or just know that you're making progress. It's a good way to start, and it serves you, especially when it comes to marketing and your marketing campaigns. And I'd like to touch on a real kind of key point here, Rob, as well, because we've danced around it and said it, but not really pointed it out. There's something called marketplace sophistication, and you said this earlier about being able to stand out and having a USP. And all I want to do is just refer back to Eugene Schwartz from a classic book, and I'll let you reveal the book. What was the book, Rob?
Very good question. My mind has just gone blankly on.
I've got it. I'm testing this old man's age. I'm joking with you, Rob. Breakthrough Advertising. Now, this is a classic book, and it's something that Rob actually got me onto a couple of years ago. But it's such a powerful book. I think it dates back to could be the 30s or 40s, somewhere around that time. And correct me if I've got it wrong, guys. I'd need to check back to my copy of the book as well, make sure. But according to Eugene Schwartz, there are 5 levels of sophistication in any marketplace. And what we do recognize and do know about the coaching space is that it's very competitive. But I think, no matter who you're targeting, whether it's kind of mindset, transformational, business coaching, life coaching, fitness coaching, whatever type of, coaching you offer, could be things like career, all of these facets, they all have different levels of sophistication, especially going up against competition and knowing that you're moving into a hot market. So level 1 is simply the claim. So an example would be, take this pill and lose weight. So it's not really that sophisticated. It's pretty straightforward. Level 2 is where you expand on the claim. So an example would be, take this pill, lose weight, but instead of just losing weight, lose 10 pounds, like a specific amount. Level 3 would be, you introduce a unique mechanism or a unique method or a process that is unique to you. So kind of like the way you do this particular thing to provide the product or the service. So that way it becomes unique to you. So it could be like your 5-step process. It could be a methodology, whatever you call it, but it's your thing. You may see, a lot of more, I would say, key people who are influential, already got products out there, and you see they have a trademark against their product or their methodology. This is a unique mechanism. Level 4 would be where you expand on the mechanism. It's kind of like people recognize that you have a unique process or methodology, but now you've got to expand on it a bit more for it to be clear to them against the other competitors. And then level 5 is, at this point, it's now about the prospect. So it's all about your customer. Yeah. And so you move into the top level. So that's just a quick whistle stop tour. But the reason why I wanted to introduce this, guys, I don't want you to just think, actually, I'm clear on what a marketing strategy is, or kind of the things that need to be involved, plan of attack, and, you know, the way you're going to do it, and just think that's it. What you've got to be prepared for is that you also need to know how sophisticated your marketplace is. Isn't that right, Rob?
Absolutely. And as I said, we could do a whole episode on sophistication, because what Leon's kind of briefly touched on there is the difference, especially when you're looking, it's really the way that you communicate to your audience in the different mediums, whether that be a newspaper ad or whether it be a Facebook ad. It doesn't really matter. It's just the way, because there's levels of awareness and there's levels of sophistication. And the reason why, in particular, the coaching industry sometimes struggles is because they're using they're using 2010 technology or 2010 marketing concepts in 2017, and it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Or it doesn't work as well or as effective unless your market ain't that sophisticated. But most coaching markets that we have had the opportunity to serve and help coaches in, they are more sophisticated, and this is the reason why they will turn to us, because they need a breakthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rob, I know you're a big advocate of this. I can't remember what you call it specifically. Is it the 5 Ws or something like that? And it's kind of, most people have heard of this. I don't know if we just want to give this a quick shout out as what people need to include in their marketing strategy. Do you want me to reel it off and then you just give
us you can reel it off, and then there'll be one thing that I'll just add to the end.
Yeah, all right, good. So, basically, these are some of just the key things you need to answer in your strategy: who, what, where, when, why, and the how. And if you can answer these questions succinctly and know your plan of attack, because obviously you're formulating this strategy so you can roll it out, you at least will be headed in the right direction. Rob, so could you just break that down just a little for us?
The who, what, where, why, and when.
Yeah, and the how. Yeah,
and the how. So yeah, and it all comes back to the who are you really serving? I mean, there's that great movie called The Avatar, and that's what you need to have. You need to have a very specific avatar in mind that you're serving. So as I said, there's a lot of coaches that serve only females. That could be part of your avatar, but then there could be an age kind of ditto on that. It could be 25 to 35 or 45 to 55, depending on what kind of coaching.
Some more demographics. Yeah. So
there's going to be some demographics in there. So that kind of covers the who, why, and then why are you serving them, or what, and that why, again, we'll come back to another episode that we're going to do, is to do with the research. So what is it that you can give them? Why are you the coach for them? And that's going to be based on a number of factors. Maybe you've been in a similar place to where they are, so you know how to serve them. It may be your level of expertise on a certain topic or certain ideology or concept that you feel your streaks ahead and can articulate it. And this is what it really boils down to. I think I've said this many, many times, and Leon's heard me say it and adapted it in his own fashion, is there ain't no new ideas really. There's just adaptations of new ideas. So what it boils down to, we could come up, and it's very similar. It's like in our market that we serve, so some of the campaigns look so alike. It's ridiculous, but it's because there ain't that many new ideas. So if we're in a level of sophistication in the market, whatever the idea is, the winner is the individual or the business that does one thing, that articulates and resonates their message to their avatar. Mm-hmm. That is the key winner. And I've said that really, really slow on purpose. It's the person or entity that articulates that message to the person's pain the best. normally wins.
Yeah,
so what's the other W where we at now? It's on the we done the why. What was after that? So who, why,
who,
what,
yeah.
what, when, what,
Yeah.
what and why are very, very simple. Like what's going to help you to articulate what I've just said when I say articulate is what is your mission? What is your purpose? What drives you that they can buy into? Because you know what? I think people like to follow people who have people like to follow certain leaders, isn't it? Who have a mission, and it's very clear what that mission is, because what have they just done? What I've just said. They articulate how they're going to serve. They're going to articulate that in kind of like a mission, and it's going to be embodied in everything that they say and do. So whether they're speaking on stage, whether they're speaking in a webinar, if you study the greats, it's just embodied. They've got a mission, whether you know it or not. They're kind of telling you the mission all the time. But even if you're not really looking for the mission, you're going to capture a feeling like, oh, this guy or this girl or this person or this company, I got a good feeling. They know where they're going. They can take me to your promised land, your destination. So we've done the who, the what, the where, the why, when, and how. Mm-hmm. So when you're going to do this, the when and the how, when are you going to because I know we got a running joke inside of the BOE family, and you speak to coaches and we say, you're wearing the mask of Zorro. When are you going to come out and claim your position in this marketplace? When are you going to come out from the sidelines, stop being a cheerleader and be the star, be the hero to the market? Because everybody's looking for a hero. The whole of Hollywood's built upon movies that have got kind of like a hero in the story. And you as a coach are that hero to that niche. So you got to come out and tell people, I'm that guy, I'm that girl. But it's when are you going to do that? Because, you're probably looking at from the side of thinking that coach is great or that coach is better than me, or you probably could, and there's just no reason. You are who you are. And as long as you are growing inside and taking steps to self-develop yourself and go out there with a clear marketing strategy, you will win. So here's how I sum this up.
I got one more point. I just want to drop onto that as well.
Go on.
The one point where Rob's talking about when, this is why we mentioned earlier about planning your year in advance, because there may be other things in your marketplace that dictate when is actually a good time. For instance, if you were selling skis and it was only around the winter months where, people could actually go out and ski, it might be that your campaigns really need to build up to that peak time. So, it's another good point that Rob has raised here, but I just want you guys to be clear. It's kind of like, when are you going to show yourself and when are your plan's going to roll out? But carry on, Rob.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's many other points left, but here's the key thing that I want you guys to consider with the whole, if you get nothing else from this podcast, when it comes to strategy, because I've seen this so many times, I've lived it so many times, so I know what I'm talking about, is you got to have your goals in concrete, but your plans in sand. So let me explain what that means. Many of you, it's quite common to hear the battle cry of most coaches that myself, Leon and Phil will speak to, that they're not at that six-figure level. And that six-figure level kind of represents a very good lifestyle and freedom, etc. So that's normally, when we take on certain coaching clients, they want to hit that, for them, elusive six-figure, which is great. So that's the goal. That's, and that goal should not change. It should be in concrete. It should not move. But what needs to move sometimes is the plan of action, the way that you're going to do it, because sometimes you will experience, like you think, okay, you're online and you see that everybody's doing Facebook ads and you think that everybody's Facebook ads is working because you see you probably don't even know what's happening. You don't even know if they're retargeting you. You don't even know, but you just think, okay, that seems to be working. Then you try it and for whatever reason, it doesn't work. But there could be a number of reasons. It could be like you may not have the expertise on it. You may not have hired the right agency, if you sourced it, etc., etc. And this is what I'm saying, your plans might need to change. So you might not be getting the joy that you think you should be getting using an online strategy. However, when you review, because this is another key point, you need to review your marketing strategy. And I think some people don't pick it up from year to year. It gathers dust. You need to be looking at your market strategy and saying, my goal's in concrete, I'm doing 100K, but my plans are in sand. So if something hasn't worked in month 1, January, and you're a little bit behind, what needs to be fixed? And the only way you know that is if you're reviewing the plan, but most people don't review the plan often enough. They probably review every quarter. You need to be reviewing it once a week minimum. Absolutely. I dare say you should be reviewing it twice a week, Monday and Friday, and ask yourself some hard questions, because this is what we do when we're coaching people. We have to ask them some hard questions because it doesn't happen by magic.
Mm-hmm.
No
Absolutely.
amount of great marketing. It just doesn't happen by magic. With the strategy, there's so much action that needs to take place, but sometimes the action changes. This is where your plans get blown out and you have to change and take a different tactic. So this is what I'm talking, like tactical warfare now. The plans is tactical. Sometimes you have to change tactics.
Cool.
If you're not reviewing the overall strategy, you ain't going to know. By the time you look at it again, you're in a mess. And
cool.
you're being
Let me just
cornered.
expand on strategy and tactics, Rob, just because I know we're going to get close to wrapping up this last episode. So here it is, guys. Tactical can at some point no longer operate. So it serves, or generally it serves as a pattern interrupt. So, you got to really think about, is this a marketing strategy you created, or actually you're just rolling out tactics at this point? Whereas a strategy, so it's generally, where you can ask, how can I leverage this strategy with the tactics available? Because generally a strategy doesn't date, because as Rob put it, as long as you know what the problems are that your customers are experiencing, or the needs that they have and that need to be served, why should your strategy ever date? It's really just, how do you get that message in front of people so that you're doing the right thing by them in order to generate sales? And that's the key thing when it comes to strategy versus tactics. And again, I just want to back up what Rob was saying. Be flexible in your approach. Keep your goals in concrete, but the way that you get to those goals, sometimes you have to adapt because of market forces, changes in your life, changes in circumstances, changes in whatever happens to you. But be damned, focused, determined, and consistent to make that goal happen if you want to have integrity with yourself. Nobody else, just yourself, because you'll know within yourself that it's up to you to make it happen. So I think that's kind of, we're getting close. I don't know if you want to expand on anything else, Rob.
No, that's about it. I think those last two comments we've made really should sum up. Like I said, if you take anything away, just listen to these last 2 minutes that me and Leon have spouted some knowledge about, because that's what it is. Like, regardless of, you just got to stay in the game. That's it. You got to have that goal, but goals in concrete, plans in sand. You got to be adaptable.
Good. I like that. So that was another episode from the Business Owner Elevation podcast. Today we've covered what is a marketing strategy and why coaches should use one. And as Rob said, the past 2 or 3 minutes will have given you the reasons why. So on that note, I think I just want to wrap up and say thank you very much for your time, Rob, and thank you for listening, Elevation Nation.
Wonderful. And look out for the next episode. This ties into this, how to research your market before entering it, which is important.
Until next time, Elevation Nation, visit www.businessownerelevation.com and keep soaring to new and higher heights of productivity and profitability.